Good afternoon, students. In this today's lesson, I want to provide the introduction to web technologies, and mainly we are trying to understand what is web technology, what is the main benefit of web technology, what are the different modules that we are going to understand in the web technologies course. So, what is web technology? See, in order to create the website, what are the technologies that are required? Those are called web technologies. What is a website? Website is a location on the server where we are able to store some set of web pages. For example, Google, Facebook, YouTube, all these are what? Websites. That means these are the locations where some predefined programs are stored. In these predefined programs, we have two types of programs, two types of classification: client side programs and server side programs. The server side programs generally developed based on either Java or Python or Node.js or PHP. These server side programs receiving the request from browser and doing the necessary database operation such as inserting, updating or deleting the data and providing the appropriate response back to the browser. Here the browser is a software which is able to make a request to server and receive the response from server. So, on the client system, browser is running. On the server side program is running. This browser is making a request to the server side program. The server side program is receiving the response from the server side program is sending the response to the browser. So, in this case, the client side program executes on the browser, server side program executes on the server. But in the web technologies, mainly we are trying to focus on the client side tools, the client side languages which are required to create the user interface. What is user interface exactly? What is visible to the end user whenever he has opened a web application in the browser? What is visible to his eyes? That information is called as user interface. In the user interface, he can experience some headings, paragraph, tables, forms, lists, etc. All that designing part is called as the user interface. In order to create the user interface, we require a set of technologies. These are called web technologies or UI technologies, means user interface technologies. So, these technologies are mainly, we have a list. So, the first one is HTML, second one CSS, third one JavaScript, jQuery, Angular. These are the 5 major technologies that are required in order to create the web development, in order to create the user interface in the websites. So, fundamentally HTML should be started first. So, HTML is mainly meant for development of elements, used to create elements, creating elements in the web page. Okay. Now, let us understand what is meant by elements in the web page. Elements means in the web page what is visible on the web page, what kind of items that you will see in the web page, all those are called elements. The information that is appear to the end user, all that information is called as elements, such as headings, paragraph, tables, lists, forms, text boxes, buttons, check boxes. Any type of item that is visible to end user is called as element. To create the element, we have to use HTML language. HTML stands for hypertext markup language, mainly used to create elements in the web page. I will show an example. See, suppose we have a Google website. In this Google, we can see several items. For example, we can see the sign in button, the Gmail images hyperlink, an icon, Google logo, search box and 2 buttons here, some several language names and some other hyperlinks such as advertising, business, about, etc. So, all these items are called as elements. To create these elements, some programming language is required. Such a language is called as HTML language. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language used to create elements in the web page. Who developed this HTML? Developed by Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee. HTML language was developed by Tim Berners-Lee. So, the HTML language mainly used to create elements in the web page. Okay, we have created elements. Then I want to apply the styles to the elements. To create the styles to the elements, we require a language called CSS. For example, I want to apply some background color for the button, some border for the button, shadow for the button. All this kind of styling part can be applied by using a language called CSS. CSS full form is a cascading style sheets. CSS stands for cascading style sheet, which means we are trying to apply some styles to the elements. The styles including colors, backgrounds, margins, borders, padding, alignment, position, all these type of information. So, any kind of styling part come under which category? CSS. Using HTML we will create elements, using CSS we will apply the styles to the elements. Suppose I want to create a text box. How to create the text box? By using HTML language. Exactly, in HTML we have input tag to create the text box. But after creating the text box, I want to apply some border. I want to apply a little bit shadow. When you place the mouse pointer on the text box, I want to highlight it. So, all this kind of beautification can be created by using which language? CSS language is required for us. A combination of CSS, HTML will make the web page beautiful and meaningful. Okay, but is it enough to have only the HTML and CSS knowledge without JavaScript? No. JavaScript language also required in order to create the real application. Then what is the purpose of the JavaScript? JavaScript is meant for making the web page interactive. Means based on the information, based on the inputs provided by user, we are trying to do some process and we are providing the output to the end user. We have to receive the data from user and we have to do some process such as checking the condition, looping through some multiple values and doing some calculations, etc., etc. And also we want to provide appropriate output based on the inputs. For example, he is entering some input values, for example 10 and 5. We want to receive the 10 and 5, we want to add them and we want to provide the result to the user. I will also show some other examples in the real websites. See, for example, in Google, if you click on this icon, the menu is up here. This is an example of functionality created by JavaScript. Here, clicking the icon is the input, providing the menu is output. Whenever a user has provided an input of clicking, then corresponding menu is provided as the output. So, first we have to receive the input such as clicking, we have to check which icon is clicked, the menu icon is clicked and providing the corresponding menu items. Another example is once we type something, the corresponding matching names are visible here. This is also an example of functionality created by JavaScript. See, when this list of suggestions should occur only when you give the input value. So, upon giving the input value, we have to accept this particular input value and doing some process such as searching in the list and providing the matching names only based on the entered query. So, these are all the examples that can be created based on JavaScript. So, if you know HTML, CSS, you will be able to create a meaningful understandable, good looking web page, but without functionality, the only just a static design of the web page is not sufficient. We have to make the web page interactive with the user. Depending on the inputs, we have to get the output. We can make the web page interactive by using JavaScript. So, we should know HTML, CSS, JavaScript also. And another difference, HTML is a markup language. Markup language syntax in the form of tags. A tag is a keyword mentioned in the less than and greater than. But if you go to CSS, we have selectors and properties, we don't have tags. But in the JavaScript, we have many different concepts like variables, data types, operators, control statements, arrays, functions, many different programming concepts are exist in the JavaScript. So, the language nature is also different. HTML is a markup language, CSS is a styling language, JavaScript is a programming language. All these three languages together should be used to make a real web page. And also, we require some additional tools or additional libraries or frameworks that are required to make the real applications in the real time companies, that is mainly jQuery and Angular knowledge is required apart from the knowledge of JavaScript. But fundamental point is jQuery was developed based on JavaScript. Angular also developed based on JavaScript. If there is no JavaScript, jQuery or Angular will not work. Anyways, so let us learn what is jQuery and what is Angular in brief. So, first I will explain about jQuery. So, I will show a code sample. For example, I want to hide some login form. So, I will show an example code in JavaScript. In JavaScript, I am writing one code sample document dot get element by ID of some item, for example login dot I want to hide this. So, style dot display is equal to none. This is one sample statement written in JavaScript language. Even though you don't know about any of these statements, so just believe that this statement will hide the particular login button or login form. Okay. Now, the equivalent statement in jQuery is, instead of writing document.get element by ID of login, we are simply giving dollar of login. Instead of writing style.display equal to none, we are just providing hide. So, now you can easily understand the importance of the jQuery. So, instead of giving document.get element by ID of login, we are simply giving shortcut dollar of hash login. Instead of giving style.display equal to none, we are giving hide. So, what is the point you can understand here? What I mean to say exactly, jQuery is a shortcut syntax of JavaScript. Dollar, hash, hide, all these are provided by jQuery. JavaScript doesn't support this hash or something. So, whenever you want to accomplish some particular real-time tasks, in JavaScript you should write lengthy amount of code, but in jQuery we can complete the same task with less amount of code. For example, I want to create some meaningful search box. To create the search box, in JavaScript if I am writing 100 lines of code, but in jQuery I can complete the same task within 40 to 50 lines of code. So, that means I have saved almost half of the code. So, if you can complete the complete project with this jQuery, what happens, the size of the code is very much reduced. Overall, my complete project is having 10,000 lines of code. If I switch to jQuery, same thing can be done in 300 to 400 lines of code. So, we have saved a huge amount of code. That means the development is more faster, developer feels easy, understandable, meaningful, and also this small amount of code will be loaded into the browser easily. Fundamentally, you should remember one point. Any language here we have used HTML, CSS, JavaScript or jQuery, any code whatever we are writing should be loaded into the browser, because this particular HTML, CSS, JavaScript or jQuery code executes based on the browser, or browser executes this particular language. That is the reason any code written in HTML, CSS, JavaScript or jQuery is first loading into browser. So, browser is executing this one. So, if you write lengthy amount of code with JavaScript, all the lengthy amount of code, maybe 1000 lines of code needs to be loaded into browser, then execution will be started. If you convert the same code into jQuery, it may be 300 to 400 lines of code. So, the 300 to 400 lines of code enough to load into browser. So, the loading time also will be reduced in case of jQuery. So, what I meant to say, development is faster and loading time also faster. That is why jQuery is better alternative than JavaScript. So, JavaScript is the actual language, what you can say natural language. jQuery is artificial but shortcut than JavaScript. And developer not only concentrate on the JavaScript but also concentrate on the jQuery, because without JavaScript jQuery will not work, and without jQuery we cannot do any real time projects. So, we should know both. And also some developers are using Angular instead of using jQuery. Now, we have two major choices in the UI development, either we have to use Angular or jQuery. Some companies are using Angular, some companies are using jQuery also. So, what is this Angular? Let us try to understand in brief. So, Angular, let us understand Angular. What is Angular? It is a framework to create client web applications. Angular is not a library, it is a framework. jQuery is an example of library. Angular is an example of framework. So, what is this Angular framework? Angular framework is used to create web applications. These web applications runs on the client side, on the browser. So, whenever we have created some application using Angular, that application is going to execute on which one? Browser, not on the server, only on the browser. So, but this Angular application is able to communicate to server, able to communicate to server. Angular application is able to communicate to server. So, Angular is a framework that is able to create client side web application that is able to communicate to server. So, what is the specialty of the Angular? What is the style of the Angular? Angular is mainly allowing you, Angular mainly allows you to divide the complete application into multiple parts. There is a big application, and in this application we have multiple parts. For example, header part, menu bar, left side bar, right side bar, footer. We are able to divide the complete application into multiple parts, and each single part is called as a component. Angular lets you to divide the complete application into small pieces. Those pieces are called components. Here the advantage is we can develop the components independently. Just like, for example, how the hardware components are being manufactured. For example, how your mobile phone is manufactured. Is it like single person or single machine has developed the complete mobile? No, never. Each and every spare part, each and every component in that particular mobile phone is made by different machines or a different set of people or different equipments. For example, processor made by one company, RAM by another company, or antenna by another company, or speaker by other company, camera by again another company. Maybe other companies or other machines or other different people. So, overall single machine cannot completely develop the complete mobile phone at a time. So, each and every spare part is being made by different branches or different people. At last, integration will be done by another machine. Okay. So, just like that, in our application also we have different parts. For example, header part is there. Only the header part is represented as header component. Header component is being made by one developer. Navigation bar being made by another developer. Left side bar by one developer. Page content by another developer. Each and every part is being made by different developers individually. They can develop them independently, they can test them independently also. At last we will collaborate all together. So, this is suitable, this approach is suitable for large applications. So, whenever you have a above medium applications, it is recommended to use Angular. If it is a small application, jQuery is actually enough for us. And another difference is Angular lets you to separate between HTML code to programming logic. Means in the programming logic, we should not include HTML code. If you go back to JavaScript approach or jQuery, in both cases, we are mixing HTML code inside the programming code. In Angular, it lets you to clearly separate between HTML code and JavaScript code. So, in this case, it will give you more better value for the maintenance. I mean, maintenance time, the code will be easily maintainable, easily, clearly understandable for the every developer. So, these are the benefits of Angular. Anyway, to understand all these things in practical, first we should start from which one? HTML we should know. So, let me show how to create a basic simple HTML program right now. So, first we have to download and install a software called Visual Studio Code. This is the software code.visualstudio.com, and we have to click on download for Windows, and we have to download and install this. Maybe some small setup file will come, and we have to click on next kind of installation. So, it is very easy. So, after installing, it will open this Visual Studio Code window like this, and here we have to create a new file. How to create the new file, I will let you know. Go to file menu, new file. In order to create the first program, go to file menu, new file. In the new file, we have to write your program. First, we have to specify that here at this point the HTML program starts. How do we specify that here HTML program begins? By keeping some tag called HTML. So, this is saying that here in this place the HTML program begins, and inside the HTML we have to place two parts, head and body. Two parts we should write head, body. Inside the HTML, we are trying to place two parts, head and body. So, what is this head? Head is representing non-content information of the page. That means which you don't want to display in the web page. Body is representing content information of the page. Means what you want exactly display to the user. Okay, what you want to display to user, that is called body. What you don't want to display is called as head. Inside the head, we have to generally place one popular tag, that is title. Title says that the title bar of the web page. For example, we are trying to place some, for example, I am trying to prepare welcome page. To the user, I am trying to say welcome. So, this title will be displayed in the title bar. I will show the output also. In order to see the output, what we have to do, go to file menu, save, go to file menu, save. Once we click on save, we have to select the location where you want to store this. So, here I am trying to create a new folder. Click on the new folder button or right click new folder. Right click new folder. In C drive, I am trying to create a new folder called HTML. So, press enter key. In the HTML folder, we are trying to place the file called first.html. As this is the first example, I am giving the file name first, but extension must be .html. .html says that it is the HTML program. File name can be anything. Extension must be .html. After saving, automatically we can notice the tags are highlighted with a different color. I mean the maroon color has been displayed for the tags. So, and we can just go to the C drive and go to the folder HTML, double click on the file, double click on the file, double click on the file first.html. Now we can see the output welcome. Check the output welcome. Whatever we have given in the title, the same has been displayed in the title bar of the web page. You can see welcome. Okay, right. Now next, after that, in the body, whatever you write here, for example, hello, this will be as it is displayed to the user. And just refreshing here. Now we can see hello. Now inside the body, we are trying to place something called heading tags, paragraph tags, different tags. First, you would like to place headings, right? For example, you take Google page. Google, click on terms page. In the terms page, we can see some headings. Welcome to Google. Using our services. These are what? Headings. To prepare these headings, we have heading tags. H1 tag is meant for heading tag, means heading. For the second level heading, we can use H2. H2 is for second level headings. For example, under welcome to Google, we have a side heading using our services. Comparatively, the second level heading will be smaller than the first level heading, because the first level heading is very top information. It's a main heading. So main headings are displayed in very large size, and the second level headings are appear in very small size when you compare to heading 2. Same way, H3 will be smaller than H2, H4 will be smaller than H3, like that up to 6 levels of heading supported. Whereas if you are using H6 here, H6, now you can notice it is very small size. Generally H6 need not be used in real time applications, better we have to use H1 to H2 or H3 enough. Okay, so H3 is quite enough for us. Next, after that, we are able to place paragraph also, paragraph tags also we are able to place paragraphs. So I am just trying to create some paragraphs. Okay, so the paragraph begins here, paragraph ends here. So all this information whatever placed here is called as a paragraph. Now notice, save this. Now we can see the paragraph. Now we can create the headings, paragraph like this. So HTML supports 6 levels of headings and P for paragraph. And sometimes you want to apply some text formatting. That means B for bold, I for italic, U for underline. B for bold, I for italic, U for underline. Now we can see, if we increase the zoom like this, now you can see bold, italic, underline. B for bold, I for italic, U for underline. Next, same way, strike tag will display strike quote text. Strike quote. Strike tag will display strike quote text. B means bold. What content is placed inside the B, only that content will be bolded. What content is placed inside I, only that content will be italic. What content is placed inside U, only that content will be underlined, like this. Bold, italic, underline, and also strike out. Strike out also visible. Strike out means horizontally we can see one vertical or one horizontal line here in order to strike it out. Okay. And also we have something called BR. If you are using BR, what is the benefit for you? To go to next line. Now after BR, now we can see next line. Cursor is going to next line. In order to go to next line, we have to use BR. For every BR, cursor will go to next line. Okay. Now we can see after every line, I mean after bold, after italic, after every line we can see next line. How we are going to next line? Because of BR. And also here there is one more tag called HR. HR is used to display horizontal ruler. Now you can see after the paragraph you can see HR, that means horizontal ruler is visible for you. Okay. To create the headings we have to use H1 to H6 tags. To create the paragraph we have to use the P tag. To create the horizontal ruler we have to use HR tag, and to create the bold, italic, underline we have to use BIU and strike tags. But notice one difference, for some tags we have to give closing tag, for some other tags we should not give closing tags. So basically try to understand the tags are two types, paired tags, unpaired tags. Paired tags means opening tag should be there, closing tag also should be there. But unpaired tags doesn't require any closing tag. Most of the HTML tags are paired tags only. Very few are unpaired tags. BR, HR, IMG, meta, this type of tags are unpaired tags. All remaining tags, see, starting from the HTML, head, body, P tag, H1 tag, so many other tags are, almost all the tags are paired tags. Very few. What are they? BR, HR, IMG, meta, link, input. Only these are the unpaired tags. All remaining are paired tags. But if it is a paired tag, compulsory we should give closing, opening and closing tag. If it is unpaired tag, there is no closing. We should write only the opening tag. The same itself is closing also actually. So here we have used the BR and HR tags, right? BR is unpaired tag, HR is also unpaired tag. That's why I did not write the /BR and /HR. Okay. Now let us try to understand more. I am just trying to place something like UL. UL is for unordered list. Inside the UL, we are trying to place some list tags. LI for list tag. We can place any item name. For example, item 1 can be some city name or country name or university name. Any names are visible in the LI tag. So what happens with the help of UL and the LI tags? Each given item will be displayed automatically with bullet. For every item, a bullet symbol will be given. Now we can notice for every item we can see a bullet symbol we can see. So every LI tag indicates a bullet symbol. First we have to place the list, we have to start the list by using UL, and inside the UL we have to place some sort of LI tags, like a list item. Same like this. We can place some OL tag, ordered list. Instead of UL, we are able to place OL tag. In OL tag also some items are visible, but the difference is UL will display bullets for every item, OL will display numbers for every item. In case if you want to change the numbering type, in case of OL, we are able to provide type attribute. Attributes means additional details about the tag. For example, see, type is equal to 1. 1 means the 1, 2, 3 serial number is visible here. And if you are giving alphabet A alternatively, alphabets are visible instead of numbers. And also we can see I for Roman numbers. Now we can see Roman numbers. So we are able to decide the type of the number by using type attribute. Okay. Next, after that, in case if you want to display image in the web page, we have to use IMG tag. First we have to decide any small image. I just collected some images already in my system, so let me use it. For example, I want to display this particular small image, for example img1.jpg. It is suggestible to copy the image and paste into the current working folder, that is C:HTML. Now the img1.jpg present inside the HTML. Now I want to display this image in my web page. To display it, what is exactly required is img tag is required. The img tag is used to create image in the web page, but only by placing img no image is visible. We have to specify an attribute called src attribute. What is src? Source path of the image. Source path of the image. Which image you want to display? img1.jpg you want to display. So we are trying to specify img1.jpg. Save and refresh this. Now you can see the large image. I don't want to display this large image as it is. I want to reduce the size. To reduce the size, what is required is width and height attributes are required. Width is equal to some number of pixels, for example 200 pixels. Height is equal to, for example, 150 pixels. So here pixel means just like a dot, a smallest portion of the screen, that is just like a dot. So 200 dots for width, 150 dots for the height. So that is 200 pixels width, 150 pixels height. We can specify any number followed by px. Px indicates pixels. In case if you want to display one more image, we can just copy one more. For example, we have img2.jpg, 3.jpg also, paste them in the same folder. Now we have img2 and 3 also. Now we are trying to add one more tag for the same. img, again img, just only the file name will be different. File name. Now we can see img1.jpg, 2.jpg also. Now we can see all the images. If the screen size is more, it automatically will show in the side by side. See now all the images by default appear side by side. So img1, img2, img3, all these images are displayed side by side. Now we can notice to create the headings, we have to use h1 tag or h2 tag or any heading tags up to h1 to h6. To create the paragraph, we have to use the p tag. To create the horizontal ruler, hr tag. To display bold, b tag. To go to next line, br tag. Br is unpaired tag, no need to close it. I for italic, u for underline, strike for strikeout, ul for unordered list, means names with bullets, but ol is ordered list, names with numbers, and we can specify the type of the bullets by using type attribute, and also we can display the image by using the img attribute, img tag actually. In img tag, src, width, height, 3 attributes available. Src means source path of the image. Width means the horizontal size. Height means the vertical size. Okay. Now next after that, now let us add some hyperlinks, means connection between one page to another page. For example, let's make a new file. We are creating a new file. Here also HTML, CS, HTML head body same. So same syntax, repeats. But this is a second page. I am just giving a heading called second page. I am just giving the file name also as a second.html. I am just saving this file, save file name second.html. We have to save in the same location. Now from the first.html, I want to give a connection to the second file. So how do we give? Here to go to next line, anyway we have to use br. On the next line, we are trying to use A for anchor tag. Just click on second. Once we click on second, we want to go to second.html. How do we go? By using href is equal to the file name, that is the file name second.html. So save and run this. Now we can see a hyperlink is visible at the most bottom side. Once we click on this hyperlink, we are jumping to the second.html file. So, only the thing is we have to provide the just file name, file path it will take automatically based on the current working location, that is second.html. Got it. So, we have to create two different files, for example first.html, second.html. How do we give the connection between them? In the first file we have to add a href. Href means hyperlink reference. Here we have to provide the target file to which you want to go. So, the a tag is used to create hyperlink, but we have an attribute called target is equal to blank. It is actually optional, but we can give target equal to underscore blank. What is the meaning of target equal to underscore blank? Now listen, I just refresh and click on the hyperlink. The moment once we click on hyperlink, see it is opening in a separate browser tab. Observe carefully in the browser, I just click on the hyperlink once again. Notice the browser tab, it is opening in a separate browser tab. In order to open the particular link in a separate browser tab, we require target is equal to underscore blank. Okay. Next, after this, okay, I want to prepare a simple form. Suppose we are trying to prepare a simple login form. To prepare the login form, what is required is first form tag is required. The form tag specifies the form beginning point, that means the form begins here. Here the form ends. Here the form is beginning, form is ending here. In between the form tag opening and closing, we are trying to prepare some list of text boxes or buttons. For example, username is a text box. To create the username text box, we have to give input type equal to text. Input type equal to text. Here input is a tag, type is an attribute, text is a value. So, now we can notice, now you can see the text box. In the text box, user can type whatever he wish. Okay. Now, next, but I want to specify the description for the text box. Okay, what should be typed inside the text box? So, then we can add a label tag for it. In order to create the label tag for this particular input tag, first we have to give identification name ID. Identification name can be anything, just like a person name. Every text box can have an identification name. For example, T1. T1 indicates text box 1. So, that T1 will not be displayed. Not only T1, any ID will not be displayed anywhere. IDs are just recognized in the browser memory. So, just above the text box, just keep label for, this is the label for which text box? T1. And here we can give any text whatever you like. For example, I am just giving username. So, now we can see username as a label. Okay. Now, same like this, I would like to create a password text box. Password text box. So, in order to create a password text box, what is required for you is input type equal to password is required, but duplicate ID is not allowed. We have to give a different ID. For example, I am giving T2 and this text box ID is what? T2. The same ID we have to specify in the label. Now, what exactly happens is when we click on this particular password, sorry, just I am changing this as a password. Okay. Now, we can see username label and the password label. When we click on this label, cursor appear in the corresponding text box, that is the first text box. When we click on password label, cursor is appear in the password text box. Okay. So, like this we can create. Next, also we can create submit button. To create submit button, we require input type equal to submit. This submit button is used to send the data to server. And by default, we can see submit query. Instead of submit query, I want to change this as a login. How to change this button name? By giving value attribute. Value is equal to login. login. Now we can see login. So instead of submit, we can see login. Now user can type his username, password. Okay, sorry, just we have to change the input type as a password. Spelling mistake, I think, password. Actually, it is password. Now save and refresh. So the username you can type, password you can type, and click on login button. Okay, when we click on login, actually the page is refreshing, but in real time applications, this data will be posted to server. We have not yet created any server program, that's why it is just refreshing the same page. Okay, ignore it. Now, so successfully we have created a simple login form. So to create the input tag, we require, to create the text box, we require input tag, and also to create the password, to create the submit button, to create even checkbox, radio button, drop down list also, not for drop down list, sorry, checkbox, radio button also, we can use input tag. So using input tag, you are able to create, using input tag, you can create text boxes, check boxes, radio button, different types of elements. So in this example, we have seen only the text box, password text box, and submit button. In the further next example, maybe in the next lesson, we will see how to create different types of elements, maybe a checkbox, radio button, drop down list, file browse button, different types of elements we are trying to prepare in the next example. So meanwhile, you have to check the tags, HTML, header, body, title, heading tags, paragraph tags, text formatting, otherwise form tag, label, input. So all these tags you have to check and practice, and the next lesson we will see the practical use of the input tag with the more examples. Thank you.